I think fairly late Tuesday night. I needed to take a break because I was getting brain damage from editing. I swear, it's bad for your brain to edit that much. Anyways, check this out. So I got the original Palm Prowler 8 in here. So this thing was built, I don't know, maybe 2 years ago, like a long time ago. It's the first plastic boat I ever sunk down to build. This was by serious pressure from the community of the Tiny Boat Nation to say, why don't you build a plastic boat? Why don't you build a plastic boat? And we've seen what you can do with aluminum boats. Now, what can you do with a plastic boat? So my answer was this thing. Built it in 5 days. And a lot of those days were really just waiting for the resin to cure. So this is actually pretty easy. And I wonder if, because it's resin coated, it's going to last a very long time. I wonder, I could have got it done in like 2.5 days and just painted over it with oil-based enamel. But I just don't know what kind of quality and how long the turf would have held up or how long the paint would have started peeling. I mean, that seal job wouldn't have lasted very long, and that's just like the actual truth. Hey, what's going on, guys? 14 in the live. Let me get 14 likes. Let's get as many likes we can to get this live going. But this is like not just the Palm Prowler 8. This is the OG Palm Prowler 8. Like, they don't make them like this anymore. The new ones are actually better. I don't know about like better hull. This seems to have like a thicker, sturdier, like more dense hull. I mean, as dense as it can actually get for plastic. Like the new ones is a little bit floppier and foldier, but the new ones are symmetrically flat at the top. And you can lay a 4x8 sheet of plywood right on it. It's 8 foot, 4 foot wide. You lay a 4x8 sheet of plywood right on it, trim the edges off. It converts right over. It's like the easiest deck conversion. So we'll be going over the deck conversion of this thing, but it's extremely easy to do. Like this was extremely, I mean, obviously the routed turf, I mean, that's actually really not that hard. It's an extra step. But in terms of actually making the deck and then flush mounting those hatches in, that was actually pretty easy. And then obviously my skill level was still not where it it is now. I definitely didn't have that welder. I actually had some of my entry level welding stuff happened here. We'll talk about that too. But let's talk about what this is. So, I don't know. What do you guys got going on here? You guys got questions? Let's go on Hooligan in GSP. All right, let's so these hatches, these are actually our economy hatches from our website. And I forgot to even tag these. I tagged a list of products. Like pretty much all the products I use in this boat I tagged in the live here, so you just hit those products and list it. But I did not tag the economy hatches. If you go to our website, tvnation.net, you can actually view these. And these are actually just kind of perfect. These are perfect for the unit. They're a little bit thinner and flimsier than our standard robust hatches. They're also a whole lot cheaper, and they're really good for small boats. We only offer them in these 4 sizes, actually. So this boat was one of the first to get them. And I didn't go crazy like the other Palm Prowler. The other Palm Prowler I did, I don't know if you guys remember that one. We went pretty serious. We gutted the pontoons, and we gutted them all, made those rod lockers. We infused a complete aluminum skeleton throughout the entire thing. It got extremely overcomplicated, and I swear for a long time that video did not track well. It's just starting to track now and possibly reach 100,000 views. That was like the hardest boat I ever had to build, that Palm Prowler 10. This one, obviously, 5 days, not too hard. Anyways, 23 in the live, guys. Can I get 23 likes? Like, just exit the chat, hit the like button real quick. It'll help this live tremendously. It really will. Let's go now. Going on now. How are you? Is there a chart somewhere to tell how big your fuses need to? 5 amp. Run 5 amp for everything. I mean, 14 gauge wire can run up to 10 amp fuses. It really doesn't matter how much your wire can hold. It matters how much your component is rated for. And so like most bilge pumps, aerator pumps, rated at 5 amps. Like actually 4 point something. So slightly, even they don't make a 4.7 amp fuse. So I just use 5 amps. You could also use a 4 amp fuse if you can even find those. I mean, in colder weather, you would want to use smaller amps because the wire can be heating up, but because it's so terribly cold, the fuse might not blow right away. So then, I mean, in colder weather, you want to use smaller amps, fuses, even a smaller amp fuse breaker. Like, so you're normally using a 60 in the spring and summer, and in the sheer cold weather, you might want to go down to a 50 or even a 40 just to be safe. Just to be safe, because your stuff will be on fire, but your breaker will be frozen, and nothing you can do about it. What about LEDs? Dude, it depends on how long the strip is, but I've ran 10 amp fuses for LEDs. And I generally run 5 amps for everything. Like my fuse blocks are just full of 5 amp fuses. The only things I have to run 10s or on extremely long strips of LEDs. We're talking like 16-foot strips. I might have to run 10s. And that's because I got 12 gauge wire or 14 gauge wire running to those strips. Generally it's 12. I mean, for really long strips. But for 4 foot long strips, 6 foot long strips, just 5 amps will work. And then my power poles, the little micro anchors, they did not like the 5 amp fuses. They blew them immediately just operating. So those require a minimum of 10 amps. I haven't had any issues on 10 amps. So that's been working pretty good. Yeah. And then what's going on, Robert? How are you? You cut a roof off a Toyota Tacoma. Oh man. That's sweet. Okay. All right. Anyways, let's go back to this real quick. 29 live, guys. Can we get 29 likes for this little I don't know what you want to call it. Anyways, the whole process of this was more or less to skin it. So this is a 1/2-inch sheet of plywood. If you can see this, I think I got an aluminum bar under here just to support this because I was really sketched about this bending it. So there's this one piece of aluminum bar that I secured into the wood before I turfed over it. I'm pretty sure those are 1-inch rivets or 3/4 inch rivets right through the wood. You can't tell obviously because it's turfed, but then we painted the deck edges. So all those edges, and it really could actually take one more very good coating of paint. And then you can actually not really tell that that's a wooden edge. You can't actually tell this is a wooden deck. The aluminum lids are, obviously, the aluminum lids in the framing and the tracks are all aluminum. So, I mean, the only way you can actually tell this whole thing is actually wood is because I just told you it was wood. At first glance, you cannot tell. It all looks flush like it's a full aluminum deck. We did route an 1/8 inch down. So when the lid track frames sat down into the wood, it sat down flush. Now, if you're running HydroTurf camo, it does not matter. It's a most unnecessary step ever. But because this is teak, you had to make it flush because any augment in the deck with teak routed turf, whether it's teak lined or non-teak routed like this, it will show a shadow. It is the most miserable looking shadow and you'll hate it. So it was pretty flawless. When I put it all together, it was all seamed up. You didn't have this. So this thing sat in a toy hauler, our friend's toy hauler for like 2 years. Because that's kind of what we do out here. We throw tiny boats in toy haulers and haul them to small lakes when it's too unbearable out here in the summer to do anything. So then we started seeing there was extremely big gaps. So there actually was a lot of shrinking. So I do wonder if this gets exposed to like rain, if it'll expand back out. I don't know, but I'll tell you what, it did shrink a lot. I was surprised. I did not expect that. I mean, I butted it up as close as I did, and I didn't even like stretch it. If you stretch it, sometimes it shrinks just because you stretched it, and then it stretches back, and then it obviously get this big line. But that was right on there. There's a point to stretch that. I had a whole piece, butted it right as close as I could. Still had a gap. So I don't know. Maybe not the. Hey, what's going on, Ethan? Maybe not a big fan of Orthodeck for like a whole strip. We're trying to talk HydroTurf into selling non-routed teak, so you can just like route in it, like we did the Orthodeck. They actually sell bigger, longer strips, which actually would have made this project a whole lot better to do. But I had to use what I had to use. A lot of companies will not sell unrouted teak because they don't actually get that you can just route it yourself like we did here. We, by the way, routed all of this. We routed all this with standard routers here. Like, this is the old trusty. And then I got a Milwaukee one down there. A lot of times I'll have both of them on hand with 2 different bits. And then I'll have, like, this guy is like the king. This one actually, see how we got all those lines? See those lines right there? And all the intricate details, all the small intricate lines. Clearly that would be really hard to get with that one. So we actually got a Dremel with diamond bits. So the diamond bit that actually will run through the turf and not fray it and get a cleaner burning line and we did that with a Dremel with a router attachment. So it's a Milwaukee knockoff Dremel thingy, and then we got the Dremel attachment, the actual Dremel attachment. That's legit. And then, anyways, this was really not an expensive project. It was not. It was $40 for the, no, actually probably was close to $100 because I remember when wood went astronomically high for no stupid reason. It was like 5-6 times more than what it was worth before. Like, so I paid a lot for the wood sheet. But in today's time, it would be like $30, $40. One sheet did it all. And the sheet I cut here, I made the subfloor. And then I left a little cutout here for the battery. This one was a little short. On the Palm Parler 10, I made a full little back deck where you could sit on. But because this one was so short, I just didn't add a back deck. I was like, this is already too short. What am I going to do if I make a back deck? What would it even look like? Like, would it be like 1 foot long? I mean, 1 foot wide? So I choked on that. There's a few things I choked on. For one, because I didn't have time. If I'd had more time to sit there and look at it and figure it out, I probably could have put out a better product. You know, I made these front end caps, which are really mandatory because the front looked extremely ugly because unlike the new Palm Prowlers, this one kind of dipped in and went up like that, all trendy like. So these covers, I welded those together with real thin aluminum and somehow pulled that off. Those are actually the coolest thing about this whole build, I thought, when I did these. I was extremely happy. I did those on the very, very last day, just hours before we left on the camping trip. Stuck those on. Then we got some Scotty holders. I'm more of a Railblazer guy now, so these will probably be coming off. Hope we're getting some Railblazer things. Just cleats from Walmart. And then we still did a Tough Tote mod. So, you know, we got this thing going on here. This is actually a 5-gallon Tough Tote. And so we've done that since forever. And then this is actually all spray painted in here. I remember I think I spray painted these because he sent me these raw aluminum. And so you're going to have to paint these or they're going to end up corroding and looking all kinds of different rainbowish colors. Like a grungy aluminum look is not my favorite thing, so I'll do like to paint them. So I did paint them. Not the best, obviously not the most robust paint job here. It's coming up. That's kind of crappy. So we got that going on. And this is the other one. I think it's like a 10 by 20, 10 by 24. Yeah, that's a 12 by 16. This is a 10 by 24. And that just is anything I threw in there, like immediate stuff like tie ropes or anchoring or something weird, I threw it right in there. It was okay. And then these are supposed to be kind of rod lockers. You could actually stick a rod in here. Like a rod or two, maybe two. Like there was just enough depth to actually put a few, like 1 or 2 rods in here that were like, I don't know, maybe 7 feet. You might be able to get away with the 7-foot one. Definitely threw a few bluegill rods in there for my son, and we got away with it. And then that one is just, other than the flush mount cup holders, we really didn't augment the hole at all. We just kind of ran the wires like this, all sleek, kind of. And then, I don't know, it worked. It works pretty good. The subfloor is real crinkly. If you step on it, it's like made all kinds of noise, and I really did hate that because this whole thing is supposed to be stealthy, right? Stealthy on the water. It was not stealthy if you stepped on that floor. So there's a lot of creaking. So I try to stay mainly on the actual floor here. Yeah, this boat is whatever it is. It's all right. It's all right. It actually fished extremely well. I was very surprised. I was very surprised by how it fished. And also last time I had dual trolling motor setups. I had this I did not have an electric outboard like this. We'll be talking about that in a second. But then I had this on the front trolling motor. This was like attached to the shaft. And this is a fish finder. So it was kind of cool, kind of messy, but it worked. It allowed me to kind of have a fish finder on the trolling motor without having to modify something in the front. Kind of kept the deck clean. But now we have done away with that. We now have an Autobo system. And I just rigged this the other day, just very briefly. Haven't even ran or hit the system yet. But this is the Autobo. This is the black box. This is the brain. It's got only 2 connections. There's the actual drive motor. There's the gear cam. You can see the gears. you can't see them because they're locked in there, but that's just more or less a locking tooth depth regulator like this one that locks into the gears of the drive motor, which is then running through here into the boxes, and the box just pretty much hijacks control of the entire trolling motor. You like leave it on speed 5, and then it has 10 variable speeds. So it gives you like kind of like the Endura Max or the Traxxas, where the Traxxas had and the Endura have like a PWM switcher, which they call the digital maximizer. You can now it give you 10 actual speeds, different modes of thrust. So your trolling motor wasn't just like 1, 2, 3, 4 of crappy speeds, and then 5 it was just like full blast. And so that gross differentiation, you actually have some variation between speed 4 and 5 and all the other speeds, to be truthful. So that in of itself is really nice. Then obviously you have electronic steering, and so you steer it with a remote. 8 buttons is all you need, but you also have a phone app, and you can put a phone app, just download the Autobo phone app, and then you can control it with your phone. And it's actually kind of a pain. I'd much rather control it with a really sleek, conservative remote. But in the event that you forgot this thing, like I have a few times, then the phone comes in extremely handy in effort to steer this thing around. But I don't know, it's just kind of, the phone is actually you can make routes. You can actually map routes. And then you can just go and refollow them. You can make them anywhere you want. It's actually pretty cool. You don't even have to like actually track them by yourself. You can just look at the map in the app and just make your own routes. It'll show you. I got a tutorial coming out. It's actually causing me, I got a tutorial coming out in this whole unit, like a really big one. So a lot has happened. I had the first actual unit from them, like way back when Justin introduced me to them. And so there have been quite a few variations because people, obviously there's a lot of competition here. So now we have a new tutorial coming out. They're pretty good. Pretty good accuracy. They're like $650 plus what your old trolling motor in the garage. So most of you, I mean, show of hands, who has one of these? Who has one of these in the garage? I got like 2, 3. Well, that one's an old one. That one's got the wrong prop on it. That's a 55 pounder. I almost flicked that on here. This is a 45. I was thinking maybe I would save this for a bigger craft. This is a Haswing, like, you know, the Haswing trolling motors. Don't get this thing. I mean, it's all right. I would have not gotten it if I didn't just, I don't know. It says it's 55 pound. I don't know if it is. Like, I don't really, in the line of trolling motors, I mean, they're all cheap. I mean, let's not get ahead of ourselves, but I don't know. I'm kind of a Minn Kota person, so I think the Autobo system works extremely well in the Minn Kota Endura C2 series and even the standard Endura series. It can work on an Endura Max, but I don't know. Anyways, guys, that'll give us spot lock and nav points and a bunch of other stuff we'll just have on this little boat here. So I don't know. Well, we'll make a little short video about it because we can. And then, you know, I got some other videos coming down the pipeline. It's getting hot. I actually also want to build a pontoon boat. I've never built one ever in my life, so that's happening. So I don't know. We'll see. You guys have any questions? You can do live Q&A here if you want. Let me see here. Oh, you guys were saying things. Okay. You have a 1972 low, 1848. It's going to be converted to a center console. I wonder how that boat would handle being that long at only 4 feet wide. I mean, on the bottom, I mean. Turfing the inside side. I didn't quite get that, James Barr. Yeah, no, the inside is not turf. It is gator skins. That inside, that's what that is. You got a Garmin 93 SV, good. That's really good. With a transducer be, I mean, I like the transducer right in the front if you're going to be trolling. If you're going to be trying to map weed lines, then the transducer, like, and you're going to be obviously motoring, like idling over weed lines, trying to track them, then that's when it's useful on the back. And then also if there's no room on the trolling motor, which a lot of times there is not, where the transducer just won't fit on it or whatever, then it's better on the back. But if you can get a transducer on the front, I would run it on the front. Like you probably will. It's just because the data is right there. Because it's always reading backwards. Like you're always reading past data. So if you're reading it after it hits the back of your transducer on the back of the boat, that means it's really old. Not only are you reading it past that, but you've already passed over it before you even started to read it. So the earlier you start reading data from a transducer onto the script, onto the graph, the faster you can make a move. Because if you just roll over the fish or the structure, and it's like past images, but you just passed over it, that's when you can throw behind your boat and still catch the fish. Or like, so I mean, I would always try to run the transducer as far front as possible, personally for those reasons. Sweet. 1973 Starcraft. I redid a 1964 14-footer. Pretty solid boats. Pretty solid boats. Any thoughts on a Shallow River Jet Mini? Now, there's so many of them out there, Jason. I just don't live in an area. I feel like all builders on YouTube or anywhere, they kind of cater to their environment. There is no backwoods over here. There is a lot of dirt and rocks, and it's very Mars looking. And then there's a lake. And that's pretty much how Arizona is. It's just nothing, and then there's lakes, random lakes, and they're very big with no backwoods. They're very kind of big man-made lakes, and just those whole short river shoals where you can just, I mean, there is backwaters out here. I don't live close to them. So, I mean, I just, if I built a jet boat, I just don't know what I would do with it. I mean, I have affiliates that build them, and they build them really well, and I just tell people to go watch them. Like, check out JDS Outdoors. He built like 2 or 3 of them, and they're really good. Side view, the motor still runs. I mean, if you're constantly twitching your trolling motor a lot, then it obviously augments it or stretches it on one side and shrinks it on the other. So as long as you're staying fairly straight on track, it's not a big deal. But if you're really contingent on side view, yeah, side view obviously works best on the back. But it's still old. It's still older data. I don't know. I ran side view on the front trolling motor on the other palm propeller I made, and I actually liked it in the front. It was great. I had it paired with Panoptics, with live scope, and actually they complemented each other really well. Yeah, fishing MD, you can actually do it with the Enduramax. You just have to bypass the digital maximizer in the head. So we've already figured that out. And so there's a lot of people that are running it on Enduramaxes. You just have to do that. We actually have a video on showing you how to do it. You more or less just take the wires going into the Enduramax, take them out, and then just bypass them by connecting them together outside of the brain. And then when you do that, then the Enduramax is always on constant speed 5. And then once it hits speed 5, I mean, then obviously it has to go back into a PWM. And so the Autoboat becomes the new PWM, the new maximizer, and then you have full control through the Autoboat system. So yeah, a lot of people are actually using Enduramaxes now because of that. That was a big thing. We didn't actually know that until a few months ago. So yeah, you can absolutely use it. Can you turf side of the boat, then run it to the top deck? It's harder to do. It's harder to look clean that way. You can, and people do it, but sometimes it doesn't look great. And then other times, yeah, sometimes it doesn't look great. And then a lot of times it's prone to damage or crack. Like it gets kicked a lot or hit a lot, and then you'll start getting a tear there, and then it'll just start tearing down the whole line and it'll look terrible. I'd almost tell you to you can run your turf right up a wall, and if you don't have an overhanging lip, just turf the wall first and then turf the deck, and then right on the edge of that turf, as carefully as you can, get a very, very sharp utility knife and just cut flush. Because the turf adhesive will actually stick to the turf, and you can blend it in. Yeah, like if you're using camo, it blends together the best. If you're using teak stuff like this, it's going to be a little bit more showy, but it'll still work. It'll still do it. It'll be all right. So, I mean, I would always try to do a 2-piece layover. It just doesn't transfer well. Turf likes 2 tones, like this one right here. I have an overhanging lip here, so if I wanted to turf the insides, I would have I didn't have anything that was really sufficient. I was running out of turf now as it is, which is why these are pieced together like they are, all cheaply and stupid like. Anyways, I don't know. Got a 100 hour lithium from Lifetime, just the Amazon one. I mean, actually the Amazon lithium batteries are really good. They're just not damn, my dogs are barking. Hold on a second. What are they doing? What the freak? What? Hello? Hello?
How are you?
Oh, hey. Oh, hold on. Hold on a second. Hey guys, I gotta go. Some stuff went down, so I gotta catch you later. But thank you guys for tuning into the live. I'll talk to you later.